Hello everyone, so some good news here. It turns out that multiple Russian ships have been attacked and hit by drones during the recent airstrike on Novorossiysk that took place a couple of days ago. Now, none of this is critical damage, but they were hit and they were damaged by Ukrainian drones. These images were compiled and then assessed by Cyber on Twitter and XL Nova Plus. And we're going to start with the biggest and best one here. This ship shown on screen now, which is the Russian frigate, the Admiral Essen, which was an Admiral Grigorovich-class frigate. You can see that this was hit in the middle superstructure. Cyber assessed the damage for this one, and he says that the impact detonated the PK-10 jamming grenade launchers located on the side of the superstructure here. These are designed to shoot dipole reflectors and heat traps, so they're part of these ships' anti-missile defense, so a key part of the ship. Additionally damaged here is the TK-25 electronic warfare complex, which is used to detect enemy radar radiation and carry out active radio jamming. Additionally, the ZR-90 target illumination radars, which are part of a guidance system of the ship's anti-aircraft missiles and provide illumination of air targets in the final section of the missile's flights. They were also damaged. Cyber also says that likely damage here by shrapnel during the strike was the surveillance radar, the Frigate M2M, which carries out long-range detection of air and surface targets. So some critical components were damaged in the drone strike here. Now this ship was already suggested to have been hit because of smoke seen rising from it in this satellite image here from a couple of days ago. This was dismissed at the time, by myself included, as just being smoke from a smokestack. But now that we're seeing that there was a successful drone strike in that area of the ship, it does seem likely that this smoke could have been because of damage here. Now, this isn't critical damage. The Essen isn't sunk or in danger of sinking, but these are vital components of the Essen that were hit here. So the electronic warfare devices and radars used for air defence and protecting the ship. So, until repaired, the Essen is a bit of a sitting duck, or at least relying now on other air defence systems, both land-based and from the other ships currently berthed at Novorossiysk harbour. And I imagine these components here are going to be quite expensive and time consuming to repair too. They sound quite fragile, delicate, and complicated systems. Let's move on to our next vessel. So, the next ship confirmed to be hit in the strike is this, a Project 2241 missile boat, also known as the Tarantul-class Corvette. This one you can see was hit at the rear by a drone, with clear signs of an impact seen. Cyber again assessed for damage here on what was in this part of the boat. So he says that this part of the Tarantul houses the main engines and the aft engine room. In addition, there are two 30mm AK-630M machine gun mounts for close air defence and engages small targets, such as potentially attacking marine drones which are trying to swarm the vessel. Finally, in this area, are diesel generators that power ship systems and crew officers, including the dining room. Now, the damage here on the Tarantul on this one doesn't seem quite as extensive or important as the vital systems hit on the Essen that we saw, but the engines were here. If these are damaged, then of course this Tarantul is out of action until they can be repaired. This one could be much more important and damaging a strike than it initially seems. It is a shame that the drone didn't hit those distinctive missile tubes on the side, because if loaded, I imagine this would detonate very impressively. The Tarantul, though, isn't a hugely important ship compared to the Essen, but I'll get to the ships and what they are later on in the video. Let's move on to our next one. So for this one, no information was actually shared alongside it, other than it being identified as a Project 12700 Alexandrit-class minesweeper. So the Alexandrit, you can see clear signs of damage towards the front, just in front of a bridge, and also possible damage, or likely damage, to the bridge itself. Also here is the ship's main gun, an AK-306 autocannon. So the drone here seems to have impacted on the lower part of the bridge roughly in the area shown, with the fire and damage spread to the deck itself. With this satellite imagery though, we can't tell how bad the damage is. Finally, this satellite image here, which we looked at in the past video I did yesterday I believe it was, this shows staining on the dock by a Grisha-class Corvette shortly after the strike occurred. Now this to me looks like remnants of fire suppressive foam or similar, which was used in putting out a fire on the Grisha Corvette here. I can't see any real sign of damage though on the Grisha. This ship is a bit too shadowy to be certain, and nothing really stands out as damage. So, if this was hit, the damage or fire was likely minor and just didn't show up on satellite imagery. The staining from the likely fire suppression that took place though does suggest that this did take a hit. The fire suppressor staining is next to the vessel on the dock near the areas highlighted. So this is the ship's superstructure and radars and antennas and electronic warfare devices. So if this did get hit, I'd guess it was one of the areas shown here, starting a small fire that was quickly extinguished, without it causing visible damage that can be seen via satellite imagery. There are some key components here, so hopefully something valuable and important was hit in this strike. So this was a very good strike by Ukraine indeed, damaging 4 Russian ships of the Black Sea Fleet in one night. None of them critically damaged, but still, damage is damage. The biggest cheese of the lot is the Admiral Essen, both by being the most important warship hit here and, judging by Cyber Baroshno's assessment of the damage, also likely the most badly damaged, and damaged in key areas, the radar and the electronic warfare devices. This is a good strike, a very good strike. Now that these ships are stricken and the Essen has lost its air defense radar and the jammers, surely the time is now for a follow-up Neptune or Flamingo strike here. I'm actually surprised that hasn't happened already yet. It seems like the Swiss fleet is a sitting duck. Since 4 of them were hit by drones, clearly the Russian air defense can't protect them. And now with the Essen's air defense offline because of these drone strikes, they're even more vulnerable. Let's hope Ukraine hits it again in a couple of days. Now, let's take a quick look at what these ships and vessels actually are, now that we've seen the satellite images showing the damage. We're going to start with the Admiral Essen. So this is the biggest cheese of a lot, and it's an Admiral Grigorovich-class frigate, which entered service in 2016, so quite a modern one. It has a standard displacement of 3,620 tons, so it's by far the biggest one hit here during this strike. These are very important ships because Russia uses these to launch Kalibers, Onyx, and Zircon cruise missiles, which hit Ukrainian cities a lot, hitting key targets like apartment buildings, hospitals, train stations, and schools. So, this one being offline is definitely going to make Ukrainian cities safer until the vessel is repaired. Hopefully, the damage here has put it out of action for a while and so minimises the launches of Caliber. This was reported damage by Ukraine back in April 2022, actually, with Russia actually admitting it was damaged earlier this year, but it's not sure how badly damaged. Of course, not critically damaged because it is now fully repaired and operational again. The Black Sea Fleet has 3 Admiral Grigorovich-class frigates, but one of them is stuck in the Baltic and Mediterranean, so we have 2 currently in the Black Sea ready for use. The Project 1241 Tarantul is this. These are missile corvettes of 480 tons standard. These are fitted with anti-ship missiles on launchers at the sides, as you can see. If this one looks familiar to you, well, that's because it was one of these which was sunk by Ukrainian marine drones in February 2024. So just 2 of these are left in service. One of these of the Caspian Sea was also damaged by a Ukrainian drone strike. I believe it was last year or the year before. Considering these are designed in an anti-shipping role as fast light anti-ship corvettes, they don't play a hugely important role in the Ukraine war. Russia has used them for escort duties and patrol in the past, and maybe they are still used in that way, though the large anti-ship missiles aren't ideal for engaging marine drones, so they're not really suited to that role. And here's an image of the Alexandrit-class minesweeper. These are quite new ships, with the first one entering service in 2018. The Black Sea Fleet has 3 of these, one of them stuck in the Mediterranean and the Baltic. These are a little bit larger than the Tarantul, 620 tons displacement. Now, interestingly, Ukraine reported damage one of these a couple of years ago, likely with a mine deployed by a marine drone. And finally, here's the Grisha-class Corvette. The Black Sea Fleet had 4 of these in service. These are older ships than the others that were hit. One of them was photographed on fire in Sevastopol in November 2025, but the cause of that was unknown. I don't think Ukraine ever claimed credit for hitting that one, so it was likely some sort of accident. The Grisha in the satellite images, remember, is the one where no damage was seen, but signs of firefighting were seen on the dock alongside it. So, a pretty good strike by Ukraine here. Not critical damage, but hitting 4 Russian ships is impressive. Now, in addition, damage was initially reported by Ukraine on the Project 266M Admiral-class minesweeper, but satellite images shown now doesn't show any signs of damage to it. So maybe a near miss or perhaps very minor damage caused. But I'm not going to count this one as a hit because it can't be confirmed at this time. But certainly, 4 Black Sea Fleet vessels showing visible signs of damage after a strike is good going. The Essen, of course, the biggest scalp here. We'll have to wait to see if Ukraine launches a follow-up strike at some point and hits them again whilst vulnerable, preferably with something large like a Neptune or a Flamingo, now that we've proven that these vessels can be successfully targeted. So that's it for this video. Hope you found it interesting. Now I'm going to play a video from the Ukraine Volunteer Centre about the fundraiser that they're doing. Thanks so much for watching and take care everybody.
Hello everyone, greetings from the Ukrainian Volunteer Center. We are now opening a fundraiser for a unit in the Donetsk region. The request is simple, but it is vital. We need 2 EcoFlow, power, communication, charged drones and equipment. 100 CAT tourniquets to save lives in case of injuries. Grace found abroad because support know no borders. We publish report, we transfer funds directly. If you can help, now is the time. The goal is $4,000. Thank you to everyone who support us. With love from Ukraine.